Hello and welcome back to the garden. Today we're going to be looking at flower seeds that can be sown in May. May is a fantastic month to be sowing seeds. There's so many that we can sow now, and because the weather's warming up in certain parts of the country, people can begin to sow outdoors their half hardy annuals. Now here in Cheshire we're not able to do that. We'd need to sow them indoors, keep them inside for say another month yet until the risk of frost has passed. Many of these seeds could have been sown in March. Now because we're sowing them in May, it just means that they flower a little later. That's the only thing it means. I'm going to start with sowing some Calendula officinalis, and this is a variety called Indian Prince. Now one of our viewers recommended this to us, and as soon as we saw it online we thought, what a wonderful variety of Calendula. It's stunning, and I love the name as well, Indian Prince. Such a gorgeous name. So I'm going to be sowing these. I'm going to be putting one seed per module. So each one of these modules I'm just going to use one seed and allow that to take over that space. So what I'm going to do first is get some compost into the modules, and it's great to be back again behind the potting tray because this is my second go at this, because normally, as you know, it's Paul that does all this. So it's fantastic to be here, and a bit too much compost there, but it is fantastic to be back behind the potting tray. The weather here today has been a little strange. One minute it's sunny, the next minute it's cloudy, but at least it's not raining. I mean, we're inside today just in case, but we're actually lucky because when the sun comes out, that's the thing about May. When the sun is out, it's quite warm, and I know us gardeners really do like that. So yeah, let's make sure there's plenty in there. And having one seed per module just helps the plant really, because it saves on disturbance, I should say, because it just allows that plant to take that seed to take hold in that tray, in the module, and it just makes it so much easier when they go on to be transplanted as well. So let's have a look. As you probably remember from my last attempt at sowing seeds, doing the sunflowers, I tend to be haphazard when I open these packs. So I need to be careful not to spill them everywhere. But I love calendula seeds. They're such a beautiful shape. So I'm going to get a few of those on my hand. Oh, they're lovely seeds. They're like lovely little curls. They're so nice. And as I say, I'm going to just put one per module. Now the great thing about this, because you're only sowing one seed per module, it means there's less wastage. Because normally what we do, but what all us gardeners do, is we tend to oversow. So we just start sowing seeds, we fill a tray, and there's so many seedlings wasted. And this just gives us the ability to, there's going to be 20 new plants here. And that's really all we're going to need. So we're not oversowing, we've just got the right amount of plants. And as I've said earlier, less disturbance as well. These seeds can grow away happily and become new plants, and they can stay there until they're ready to be transplanted. But it's not like when you're sowing into a tray and you've got all your seeds close together and you need to transplant them, and it's, because it's not the greatest way of doing things for me personally. I'd rather do it this way. Right, so I can pop all those back into the packet. And the great thing about this as well is that we've got all these seeds now to put back into the packet, to be put on one side and saved for the next time that we want to sow some more. Now we could decide that 20 is not enough and we'll sow some more over the next few weeks. That's fine, but we can always come back to them. It's better than just going mad and sowing the whole packet of seeds, when really most of us gardeners, you know, we do that, but we tend not to use the plants, and that's the key. We can always come back to these now, and I will seal them up as well. But Indian Prince, what a fantastic name. And as I say, they were recommended to us by one of our viewers, and we are very grateful to her for that. So I'll pop those just over there on one side, and I'll finish by topping up with compost, making sure they're nice and covered. Obviously these will be watered later on, so give them a really good watering. We'll take them outside to do that, obviously. We'll not do it in the summer house, create a mess everywhere. And it will be so exciting to see these come up, because I really do love calendulas. We grew some last year, but we've always grown them really, and I grew them certainly growing up as well. I was doing another seed that I used to grow, so yeah. And they're always so nice to have in the garden. They're so cheery, they're vibrant. I love the colours of calendula, they're just so cheery. They make you feel happy. And that's great. That's what we want to feel all the time. It's happy. So there you go. So that's first tray sown. I've already got a little label here with the name on. So Calendula, Indian Prince, and the month that we've sown them as well, because that always helps, gives you an idea as to what's going on. I'll pop that in. So Paul prepared that for me earlier. So that's in. We know what they are. We'll set them outside later, and they will be watered. The next seed that I'm going to be sowing is called Ammi majus. And Ammi majus, also known as bishop's flower or Queen Anne's lace, is such a gorgeous flower. It reminds me of cow parsley, but so much more attractive. And it really is. I'll hold the seed packet up. Quite a stunning flower. It's so graceful, and I think it's going to be lovely. I know it's very good for insects as well. I mean, certainly the bees will love it, and it's quite a beneficial plant. And so I'm going to be sowing some of these today. And what I'm going to do this time, instead of sowing them individually in their own individual cells, I'm going to use this tray. Now the reason for this is the seeds of Ammi majus are very, very small. They're so tiny, and you wouldn't want to be station sowing or sowing into an individual cell, for the reason that you're going to get so many per each cell and it defeats the object. So we may as well sow them like this in a tray, and then we'll transplant them on once they get going. So the main packet's already open, and I'm just going to open it perhaps in a corner and see. It's so funny watching me do this, because I am so messy with things. It's one of those situations where you end up with things everywhere, or should I say seeds everywhere. No, I'm actually going to open the whole lot, so it makes it easier for me to open the packet. And it's such a nice day today for sowing seeds, because we didn't know what the weather would be like, because they predicted rain, but the sun keeps coming out, so I'm really happy with that. Oh, they're so delicate. Oh, I've never sown these before. They're so lovely. These are very, very nice seeds. So I've got a few there on my hand. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see them or not, but they are very, very tiny little seeds. And so what I'm going to do is sow them on the surface of this compost, and then just add more compost on top to cover them, obviously, and then later on again they will be given a good water. So what I'll do is I'll just go along like that with just a pinch between my fingertips like that. And I'll try not to over sow, but do you know, because they look so nice, they will be a welcome addition to the garden. And it's going to be one of those plants where, you know, someone walks into the garden and thinks, oh, what's that plant? I love it. And I know that we'll get a lot of joy from it. So I'm going to be quite naughty and put quite a few in. but not too many, because as I say, it's not only finding the space in your garden when you're sowing, but you've got to think about the wastage of seeds as well, because these will last you and you can sow them again the following season. So, you know, try not to be tempted to sow the whole packet. So I just love them. I love the name, Ammi majus. So I'll pop some compost on top there. I've really been enjoying getting involved in the sowing of seeds in the garden, because it's been a while since I've really there's certain seeds I do sow, but it's been a while, and I just think it's nice to get involved in the process and have that contact with the seeds, you know, with the compost, and you're really starting a new life. You're creating new life by doing this. It's not the same as going to the garden centre or plant centre or plant nursery and, you know, buying a plant and bringing it back. I mean, that's a great feeling, but doing this, you're with the plant from the very beginning, and I just think it's amazing. So it's a really lovely process to be involved in. So I think that's more than enough on top. Try not to get any big pieces in there. Yep, that's perfect. And we have a little label already prepared there, Ammi majus, sown again in May. So we know exactly what they are, and I can pop that through there actually. That's the purpose of it. So I'll pop that there, and I'll put those on the side. So that's another set of seeds sown. I'm really enjoying this. I'm tempted actually to go to our seed box and just sow every single thing known to man, but I know that, you know, we're going to be sowing plenty today, and it just gives you, the viewer, a general idea on the things that you can be sowing as well. So you can be going out and buying these seeds or getting them ordered online, and, you know, start sowing. And that's the key. The final seeds that I'm going to be sowing today are Digitalis seeds, and Digitalis is commonly known as the foxglove. Now, foxgloves are beautiful. These tall spires with these little booths that the bees love to go inside and buzz around to collect the pollen and then pull away. It's just so wonderful. It's my favourite plant with bees, Digitalis, because I just love seeing them enjoying themselves, going into these little booths and having lots of fun. So this variety is Excelsior mixed, and we've grown these before. Now, we did grow some in the autumn last year. We had some growing. Unfortunately, our resident squirrel, or one of our resident squirrels, has dug them all up. So we're starting again from scratch. Now, because foxgloves or Digitalis are biennial, these will not flower this year. So this first year, they will begin to grow, and then it's next year when they will flower. So that's how it works. So they're not going to flower this year, but we're preparing these ready for next year. And what a wonderful display they'll be. We have got, I think, a couple of Digitalis throughout the garden this year, but if we do need any more, we will have to go out and buy some if we want them to flower this year, if we want anything flowering, because obviously these are biennial and they're not going to flower this year. But I thoroughly recommend that you do grow them. Also, as you can see, we've already opened the packet from last year. I would not recommend that you have these seeds around if you've got children or animals around, because Digitalis is toxic. So you don't want these getting into the wrong hands. There's just a little warning there. Now, the seeds for Digitalis, I don't know whether you can see, they are much smaller than anything else that we've sown today. They're so tiny, and it really is a case of just being, you know, very careful, because they are toxic. But also, don't be tempted to oversow. I am so naughty in the garden, because I see something and I think, oh, I like it, I want more of it. And the problem is with that, there's not only a space issue, but there's also the fact that, you know, there's going to be so many plants that you're going to have to discard, so many seedlings, and that's not good, really. We have really good success with Digitalis. They normally all come up when we sow them. Now I've sown, again, as usual, far too many there. I try not to do it, and I really do recommend that you don't do it yourself. You know, try not to over sow, because it's just pointless unless you've got the space for them, you know, and the time, you know, to transplant them, etc., etc. So, but I really do love them. They're beneficial they're beneficial to the bees. The bees absolutely adore them, and I love seeing the bees happy in them. And I could quite happily fill our garden, fill the whole place with Digitalis, because I can never get enough of them. But we can't do that. We need to make room for other plants, as we all do as gardeners. So yeah, so this could be very exciting when they begin to germinate and come up and do their own thing, because you know that next year you're going to be seeing these tall, lovely spires coming up through the garden. Do recommend Digitalis to anyone if you've not grown it before. It's a fun plant, and it's so, well, it's gorgeous, but it's graceful to look at. It's so lovely. It's very, you know, when you think about Digitalis, you do think about a cottage garden. And, you know, back in the day when we had our own cottage garden, we did used to grow Digitalis a lot, and the garden had a lot in. So, a lot of it in. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So it's covered just enough. Trying to be as careful as I can. Make sure that's pressed down. That's fantastic. Perfect. We've got another little label prepared. So Digitalis Excelsior mixed, sown in May. So it just gives you an indication, because there's nothing worse. An easy thing to do when you're sowing seeds is this. You sow the seeds. You think, oh, fantastic. You get carried away. You have so many seed packets there lined up. And you've got all these trays. And you sow them and you water them and you put them to one side. You put them in your greenhouse or indoors somewhere or outside. And then you think, I can't remember which ones are the ones in this tray, or what's in that tray, what's in the other tray, and you haven't the foggiest idea what you've sown. And so it's always better to have your labels prepared and ready. So just write out. You see, Paul does this for me already, so these have already been prepared by him. But, you know, just write down. So, like I say, Digitalis Excelsior mix. It's at one side. Keep everything separate, so you know when you're sowing your seeds, that's your label. You know what you've done. You've got your seed packet there. You've got your tray. You've got your label, and then that's sorted. That can be put to one side, and then you can get on with the next lot. Or in my case, I've actually finished for today. So I'll pop those at the back there. As I've said earlier, these will all get a really good watering, but they are some fantastic seeds. And I'm going to show you now some of the seeds that you can be sowing this month, as well as the ones that you've already seen. In the month of May, it's not a question of what can you sow, it's more of a question of what can't you sow. There's so many things you can do now. I think May's a wonderful time of year. It's probably one of my favourite times, actually, because it's the beginning. We've got that anticipation, that excitement of what's to come. My first recommendation are sunflowers. Now, quite recently, I did a video about sowing these seeds, and we will put that link for you to view the video, because it's a really great video. And sunflowers are a fantastic way of getting children involved in the whole gardening process, because they absolutely love it. You know, everyone remembers sowing the first sunflower seeds when they were growing up, or most people do, and it's a fantastic way of getting children involved into the gardening process. Sunflowers are fantastic, and they're just so easy to grow, and you can have great success with them and great fun watching these huge tall spires with beautiful heads, so cheery. The perfect seed for the fun-loving child within us. And I just think that there's nothing better as well, once they finish flowering and they begin to die back, is putting that sunflower head on the bird table and seeing the birds peck away at it. It's absolutely fantastic, wonderful experience. So my next seeds are chamomile. Now, as you know, with chamomile, you can make a fantastic tea with it. So it's so useful. And who wouldn't be in love with those daisy-like flowers? They are absolutely amazing. And it's just such a really nice plant to grow. I think it's fantastic. I think it's so important that we grow things that we can use as well. So certainly with chamomile, it makes a lovely relaxing drink. So we recommend that one. You can pretty much sow any wildflower mixes. So anything like that. So we've got the wildflower honeybee mix, but really anything wildflower related will be great sown now, and will yield fantastic results with all those insect friendly flowers. And we've got Nigella here as well. Now we sowed lots of these last year. So Nigella is also known as Love in a Mist, and this variety was Miss Jekyll, and we sowed that last year. We had great success. The garden was full of it. This was also another plant that I used to sow when I was growing up as well, along with sunflowers and calendulas. I've just remembered then when looking at the seed packet, yeah, this was something that I used to grow, and it's just fantastic. It's so lovely to watch, and I think the flowers are really interesting, the way that they hang, and I love popping the seed heads at the end as well, once they've finished flowering and gone to seed. But there you go. So they're a fantastic one to sow as well. We've also got corncockle here. Now corncockle we grew last year as well. We grew a very small clump of it, well, 2 clumps actually. It was in 2 pots, and I think we did a video. I'm not sure whether we did or not. I can't remember. I think there was a video out there that we did quite early on, and we put the 2 pots actually into the garden as they were, because we'd been that busy with other things in the garden. We'd left them. They were pretty big by the time we put them into the garden. So we thought, rather than start dividing them individually, there was like, I think there was like 2 spaces where we needed filling, and we put those in, and they were fantastic. Now corncockle is something that you used to see a lot many years ago. You really did. You used to see this everywhere. It's a rarity now. People do not grow it. I know that the seeds are highly toxic, so please be careful when handling them, and certainly keep them away from children and pets as well. So if you have children in the garden, not a good idea to getting them sowing all this kind of thing. But you know, if you have a child-free garden or a pet-free garden, it's probably a really nice plant to grow for the pollinators, because pollinators do love it. And as I say, it's a rarity. They have such gorgeous flowers. They're almost like little star shape. They're lovely. They really are lovely. And we had fun growing these last year. We've not grown any this year, but that's just due to space, and there's so many other things that we want to try. But I definitely do recommend corncockle, because it was something that you did see. You don't see it anymore, and I think we should keep it going. I've seen various videos online about people mentioning how toxic the seeds are, etc., etc., and I just think, do you know something? Where do you draw the line? I think it's a great plant and will make a wonderful addition to any garden. We've also got poppies as well. Now I know that some of these, I think Paul's sown some of these already. I think he's put them directly into a pot. Now these, the thing is with poppies, when you sow them, they need light to germinate. So don't be doing what I did earlier and filling a seed tray full of poppies, covering them and expecting things to be fantastic, because it doesn't work like that. They need to be sown. You can sow them direct and just allow them light. Don't cover them over. Just allow them light, water them, allow them light, and you should have some success. I remember one year back in Sheffield, we sowed, so these are ladybird as well, and we sowed ladybird and they didn't come up. I'm not sure what I did. It was quite a number of years ago, and it was in our cottage garden, they didn't come up, and I was thinking, oh, I love poppies, why have they not come up? I don't know what happened. And then I think the following year they did start to come up, so I was thinking, I don't know what happened there, but obviously I'd done something that they didn't like, or put them in a place that they didn't like, but they did come up eventually. But these are fantastic because they're so cheery, and that's what you want the garden to be filled with. You want cheery, happy plants, and poppies typify that. They are also good in terms of remembrance, so you know, when you've lost a loved one, something like that, they're always a nice seed to sow in a little special area in the garden to help you reflect on that person. But yeah, fantastic. So we do recommend all these seeds that you've seen on the video today. If you do have space in the garden, all of the seeds that we've shown you here today can be sown direct into the garden. So you can just, if you've got a spare little bit of space, prepare that space, have it planned, prepared, get your seeds sown direct, and they will germinate. They will be more than happy. You don't have to sow them all in trays like we've done. They can be sown direct. They are hardy annuals. So it doesn't matter that there's still a danger of frost. It doesn't matter. You can sow them direct. So sometimes it's nice to do that, you know, rather to, you know, you jump in stages really. You can get the ground prepared and all ready and nice. Plan the seeds that you want to include in that area and then just get them out into the ground. Because at the end of the day, the seeds do not want to be in a packet like this. They want to be growing in the ground. They want to become plants. You know, they want to be happy, living life, growing, attracting lots of bees and other insects and butterflies, etc., etc. So, you know, don't be afraid of sowing direct. They're hardy annuals. You can do that. So if you don't want to sow them in trays, get them into the ground direct. Now we've got a really good selection of cornflower growing as well that were sowed in autumn. They're quite tall now, and some are actually in a pot behind me. You'll not be able to see them from where you are, but they're just outside of the summer house here on the decking, and they're looking great. They're quite tall plants now. As I say, they were sown in autumn, so we've got a really good head start there. But cornflower are a fantastic plant to be sown right now in May too. And they just provide you with so many lovely flowers, and it's just so lovely. I think this is the best month, it really is, out of the entire year, because there's so much to come. There's so many things that we can sow, so many plants we can grow. Things are getting better, the weather's getting warmer, and the garden comes into its own. It creates its own individual personality again. After the winter and the early spring, things start coming together. Thank you so much for watching. It's been appreciated, and it's such a pleasure to be sowing seeds with you today. Any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments box below. We really do like to hear from you all. And I hope that you have an amazing gardening journey with your sowing of seeds. So as I say, thank you for watching, and we will most definitely see you on the next one. Thank you.